Travelers are anything but jolly after experiencing chaos at airports this holiday weekend. I was one of them. A winter storm causing thousands of flight cancellations, people stranded at airports, sleeping on the ground, bags piling up at baggage claims. Southwest taking the brunt of it, canceling over 8,000 flights between December 22nd and the 26th. So far today, the airline has canceled over 3,000 flights. That's all according to FlightAware. In fact, 70% of yesterday's cancellations were all due to Southwest. Delta and United fared much better, both around 10% of cancellations. Southwest releasing a statement Monday offering its heartfelt apologies. The airline said it was fully staffed and ready for the holiday weekend, but then the storm hit. President Biden tweeting about the cancellations today, writing, "Our administration is working to ensure airlines are held accountable." The president directing passengers affected to go to the Transportation Department's dashboard to see who was entitled to compensation. The Department of Transportation says it will investigate the cancellation from Southwest. For more on the travel chaos, we got to turn to Jim Corridore here, Similarweb's Senior Insights Manager and Travel Expert. So, Jim, I had a big mouthful there. What's your take on what's going on here with Southwest?
Yeah, Pras, thanks for having me. First of all, it seems like after the summer of revenge travel continued into the holidays, winter weather plus a lack of airline resiliency conspired to play a trick on airline customers this holiday season, got their own form of revenge. Airlines are not suited to handle weather emergencies. After COVID, they cut staff, they cut planes, they have not fully staffed back up. So when something like this happens, they're ill-equipped to have the staffing necessary to respond to emergencies. Southwest in particular, with their point-to-point network instead of a hub and spoke system, when their planes get out of position, their staffs get out of position, they're ill-equipped to be able to respond. But in this case, they also did a horrible job communicating with the public. It seems they really dropped the ball here.
So, Jim, they did a horrible job communicating, clearly did a horrible job planning for this. When we talk about how long some of these issues are going to persist, what's your best guess?
Yeah, I think it's going to be about another week before Southwest fully gets their act together. Their planes are still out of position, their staff is still out of position, and apparently they've had a significant technology outage in their staffing system where they outlay their staffs for the flight. So it's going to take a while. Customers are obviously outraged, more so at the fact that they've been left basically stranded at airports without any kind of information. Customer service agents are doing the best they can, but with a lack of communication from top, they don't know how to handle the situation.
Hey, Jim, why do you think discount airlines like Spirit and JetBlue didn't have these sort of same operational issues that Southwest suffered through?
Well, Southwest had the bad luck of being in the spots where the weather hit the hardest, places like Buffalo, the heartland of the country. So first of all, the weather hit them the hardest. But they did also have that technology outage, which left them unable to staff. So many flights didn't depart because there wasn't a flight attendant able to service that plane, or the pilots timed out because it just took too long to get their act together. Southwest seems to be uniquely affected because of their own internal issues. All airlines were affected by the weather, but Southwest, it's more than just the weather for them. It's how they handled it.
And Jim, you would think their reputation as a result is taking a huge hit because of this. How long does that overhang or backlash do you think is going to last?
Yeah, typically, I've been an airline analyst for 20 years. Typically, people have very short memories when it comes to things like this, but this may be a different situation. Just the extent of how long they've left people waiting with a lack of information may start to impact them. We'll have to take a look. Airline demand remains very strong. There aren't that many choices. If you're in certain markets, airlines tend to command 70 to 80% of market share in most hubs where they operate out of. So people don't have choices. If they want to travel, and our data is showing that they do want to travel, they have limited choices. So Southwest will probably see a rebound in the spring when travel starts to come back in general.
Yeah, Jim, so post-holidays, we're seeing, I know you're seeing that, the data is showing that people are really returning to travel, especially airlines and airfare. What are you guys seeing there in terms of demand pickup? And do you guys see it kind of going beyond what we had before the pandemic?
Yeah, our data shows we have excellent visibility into web traffic, and you have to go onto an airline's website to book before you travel. So that's a great proxy for demand. Our data is showing that we have fully recovered from the pandemic. December, year to date through December 23rd, December is up about 15% versus last year for the top 4 airlines. November was up about 7%, October up 15%. Fourth quarter looks great. That's going to carry over into the first quarter, into winter travel. And when we get around to next year, I know the inflation's biting, the economy is biting, but people are still showing a willingness to choose experiences over other types of outlays for their expenditures. So it looks like travel demand is going to be strong here.
So, Jim, you think that's still going to be the story in the new year? Because if you take a look at airfare prices, the latest CPI report showing the airfares are still up 30%, or more than 30% actually, on a year-over-year basis. I guess, to what point are customers going to just start scaling back and they're not willing to pay that high price anymore?
Yeah, I guess it all depends on how deep the recession goes and how long it lasts. I think what happened is because international travel was so slow to rebound because a lot of markets were closed, that revenge travel trend of the summer where everybody was finally going to Disney and other places moved to London, to Tokyo, to Australia. So that has a little bit more legs to go. But there will come a point where people are just looking to cut expenditures and will not travel anymore. But so far, our data is not showing that that's happening yet.
Hey, Jim, I was surprised to see that cruises and popularity of cruises is sort of nearing a high here. I'm surprised because I feel like after a pandemic, you don't want to go into a boat with a lot of people and have a virus kind of floating around there. So what's your take on that? Why are people back into cruising?
Yeah, when you look back to what happened during the pandemic, airlines were closed for a while, but they came back relatively quickly. Cruises were fully closed for an entire year. So there's a lot more pent-up demand for cruises. We also have the new Icon of the Seas ship that's created a lot of buzz. So people are thinking about cruising again, and there's a lot of pent-up demand for it because they couldn't do it for a full year. So that has a little bit more legs to go. We think this upcoming wave season, which is the time when people tend to book their cruises, which is January, February, March for the entire year, is going to be particularly strong in 2023. Cruise demand has longer legs even than the airline trend because, like I said, people had to wait so long to be able to go back to cruising.
Jim, what's your advice to people out there if they're looking to travel right now, the best time of year to book and where they should be searching for those deals?
Yeah, people are moving to OTAs rather than directly looking at the airlines, at the hotels. They are looking for deals. There are a lot of web traffic sites that can help you with that. Hopper is one of them that's seen a lot of web traffic growth. These are sites that can help you find a good last minute deal. The longer you book out, the better you will do. Things do get to get tight, especially into still very tight capacity for airlines and staffing shortages. So airlines are not able to expand into this demand as much as they would like. So you should try to book early.
Hey, Jim, so what do you think about the other types of the OTAs, you call them? Are they kind of like the trade you got to make here in travel?
Yeah, I think that if you are looking to benefit from the trading travel stocks, although I'm no longer an equity analyst, I can't recommend stocks. It does seem that people are looking for deals, so they're spending more time on these OTA websites, and that's a sign that Expedia, that Booking, those type of sites are going to do very well over the next 3 to 6 months, we think.
Consumers definitely becoming a lot more price sensitive. Jim Corridore, always great to have you of Similarweb. Thanks so much for joining us.